let's go ahead and kick this off. I'd like to welcome everybody to our webinar today. My name is Katie, first of all, and I'm here with Dan Projansky and Luca Zambello, the CEOs from Overplay and Jurny, respectively. And I'll hand it over to Dan first to give kind of a brief background on yourself and also Overplay. And if you can give us an idea of how you're currently leveraging AI with your technology, that would be awesome. Go ahead and kick it off, Dan.
Thanks, Katie. Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Projansky, CEO of Overplay. Overplay allows anyone to take a video and turn it into a video game. My background, my career started in the film business. I worked in New York City doing film, television, commercials. Eventually, I went over to Sesame Street, where I started working on interactive games for children. I kind of took to that, taught myself to code, and then ended up kind of leading the production department there. Overplay is really kind of the culmination of both of those areas of expertise. I'm not sure that someone who hadn't had experience both in the storytelling nature of the film business and the storytelling nature of games and interactivity would have done, I think those two were kind of prerequisites to coming up with Overplay. We're super excited about what we're building. In terms of AI, I think we fall kind of solidly in the content creator realm. And so where we're integrating AI into two places in terms of business intelligence, of course, but I think perhaps more excitingly, what people are interested in is where we're integrating it into the content creation experience and generative AI. And with that, I will hand it over to Luca.
Yeah, hi everyone. Katie, thanks for hosting us. I'm Luca Zambello, CEO and co-founder of Jurny. To give you a little bit of background about myself, I'm originally born and raised in Italy, moved to US almost 15 years ago. Been in the industry for about 12 years, started early age of Airbnb, multiple businesses, and including a management company that I grew to over 300 units. Saw a big gap in the industry where it was lacking big in terms of infrastructure to have technology to be able to automate hospitality. I saw a big opportunity in automating hospitality. So we started developing a software for ourselves, which then ended up being Jurny, with the mission of really creating the best #1 tool for automation in hospitality, 2, to consolidate a lot of these different technologies and making them work well together as a single system, which is a big problem in the whole industry, not just in Airbnb industry, but including hotel and hospitality as a whole. And then the utilization of AI for us specifically is, and which I think is something similar to that in a completely different industry, is really to be building tools to enhance what people can do and increase efficiencies and automations.
Great, thank you guys. And one of the things that got me particularly interested in this conversation is that it really seems like the two of your companies and the applications are very different kind of on the surface. So maybe you guys could talk a little bit about what's under the hood and the importance of integration and also kind of the importance of having a proper infrastructure. And we can see some of those parallels between what you're doing at Overplay and what you're doing at Jurny, Luca.
Yeah, well, I can start talking about this. I think what's very interesting is that, especially lately, I've heard a lot of people talking about AI. It's been a bit of an overused term, but I've had a lot of conversation. I got lucky to be in a lot of podcasts and talk to a lot of smart people in Silicon Valley and South Cal that really knows about AI. And I think what I found a common trend people that are really delivering real value for people today already, is what you kind of mentioned right now, Katie, is really the infrastructure. So everybody talks about data, which is absolutely important. And you cannot build an LLM without large amount of data. And it is an important piece also for what we're doing. But I think more importantly, and what's even more important, is the infrastructure. So I'm a big believer, and I found a lot of people that really know about AI sharing this belief that LLMs are becoming a commodity, because it's going to be and they're going to become a commodity, and they're going to be only the large tech players really developing LLMs, and they're going to be competing against each other, which is going to be Google, Facebook, Apple, and obviously OpenAI, Microsoft. But really, where the money is at for startups and the opportunity is at is to really take this LLM and specialize them for a specific use case and for a specific industry, and really train them on that specific industry. But more importantly, is to train them on top of a system and giving them an infrastructure. So to give an example specific of what Jurny is doing, and why LLM only works if it has an infrastructure. For instance, if a guest wants to move a reservation, if the LLM does not have access to a calendar, does not have access to whether or not knowing if the unit is being cleaned by a cleaner or not, and not have the ability to move that reservation, it's basically useless, right? And so that's where the infrastructure comes into play. And what I think it's amazing is that we as a company, we're fixing the fragmentation issue. But why fixing that issue? We're actually fixing two major issues at the same time, which one is the fragmentation, which makes the system easier to use. But at the same time, we're creating the only infrastructure where AI can really make a dent in our industry and can really become a helpful, useful tool. So, and what I found very interesting is that anybody that I've talked to that is really changing what their industries by utilizing AI, they share this common belief of the importance of the infrastructure. So, just want to pass the word to Dan, but I found that very interesting.
Yeah, definitely, Luca. I mean, when Luca and I first had our first conversation and just started talking a little bit, it was really quite striking how both of us were thinking about infrastructure as such an important key piece to what we were building and doing. I think Overplay, kind of because we straddle two separate industries, both those industries that are producing products and models that are of value to us, but that there is definitely a component that's really unique to us and will require us to train our own models on our own data set. So being able to build the efficient pipelines to collect that data, being able to build that infrastructure is an important part of what it is that we're doing. But I think what Luca touched on before about the commodification is also clearly the direction that things are heading, and it just, you know, for a smaller startup, it just doesn't make sense to try and bite off things that other people are already chewing on. And I think, you know, we're in different industries, but it's the same kind of thing. There's, you know, in our, you know, in the gaming industry for animation, sound effects, or dialogue generation, like that's the kind of thing that it doesn't necessarily make sense for us to tackle. We have enough to tackle on our own, so we want to use existing products that others are creating.
Yeah, and like you said, Dan, I think what's going to become extremely important is the combining these different components and making them work as just like as a single system and making them work well with one another. That's really where the special sauce is going to be. And the people that are going to get there first are going to have massive competitive advantage in their respective fields. So yeah, it's very, very exciting. And I think what's very interesting is that not a lot of people are really looking there, surprisingly, right? A lot of people are just talking about AI, but really, unless you're doing that, unless you're building that proprietary infrastructure, really, there's not really a lot of value added that you're building, unless you're trying to build your own language model. But like we said, then that means you're trying to compete with Facebook and Google and almost unlimited funded companies, right?
No,
So
it's really about,
no, continue on, Dan.
I was just going to say, it's really about the integration and building the infrastructure to support it that is where we're focused now. And I think that's how you're going to stand out and be able to build that company that is going to really rise above.
So to just kind of build on this conversation a bit, as you're evaluating partners who also utilize AI or other tools, say, or other companies in your respective spaces, what are some of those important questions that you should be asking, or some of the really important things that you should be looking at with these companies to ensure that they're truly built for the long haul, and it's not, say, just another wrapper or another chat bot or something like that? What are some of those really important structural components that you feel are setting a company's up for success today and for the long run?
Yeah, well, I think I want to answer two questions here. Like, one is from a standpoint of partners, and then from standpoint of like the what differentiates the general chatbots. To I say I call it almost like AGI in our case specifically, which I go in more details on what I mean with that. So how do we choose our partners? It's really hard because most partners in our specific case, and I don't know in the case of Dan, are not really prepared for what's coming. I think a lot of people are just talking about AI, but really not really doing something about it. And so I think they're lacking the infrastructure. So in our case specifically, when we choose a partner, we integrate with them, we have specific requirements that we ask on their API, and we need to have specifics, things that are available through API that normally aren't. So that's sometimes a challenge, but because we're growing quickly, partners are listening, and so we're building these custom API connections, because you need to have access to a lot more data that you would normally have, right? If it's just a user having to interact with that, with your interface for that API, the amount of data you need, it's relatively limited. But for our use case specifically, we want to have access to almost the entirety of the data that they collect on our behalf, so that it behaves just as a single system, and so that AI, as it becomes more capable, is able to really assist you to do multiple things. And I think the second piece, how you really differentiate your typical chatbot, and again, I'm talking from our industry specifically, is that, for instance, our system is actually able to take actions already, right? That's really the difference. What they call it, like AGI. It's all, we like to see Nia, which is our AI, almost like your own army of AGIs. They're able to accomplish multiple different tasks for you, like answering reviews in a very personalized way, right? Answering guest communications, but not just answering guest communications, understanding what the guest is asking, contextualizing things. And so going and looking up on the Q&A what they should really answer to that specific question, and then help the guest with a specific task, or escalate when a task when it doesn't know how to solve that. So really that's the difference. And where this is going is also on more of a personalized experience, and creating custom experience, and understanding what guest wants. For instance, like if a guest has a specific room temperature every time it travels, anticipates that, and letting them checking in with that specific room temperature. So that's really where things are going.
Yeah, so I think for Overplay, it's a little bit different. We don't exactly have a cheat sheet for AR partners. I think on one side, we're a recipient from for the Adobe Fund for Design, and so we're having conversations with them about their existing AI utilization and how that can be integrated to Overplay. And then on the other side, it's really about some of the existing companies that are working on game asset creation, and a lot, I mean, the way that we're evaluating them is really upon the game asset. So I think in those ways, it's a little bit different than what Luca's doing. So we're actually looking at the products, because it's generative, we're looking at the product's output and seeing its usefulness for our platform, but of course, listening to our users and understanding what it is that they want. And then on the other side, you know, we're as Luca mentioned, there's no reason to try and fight the biggies because you'll just end up kind of overwhelmed. So we're super excited that in the case of kind of asset creation that we're partnering with Adobe, because obviously they are the biggie and we hope to be able to take advantage of that.
Yeah, congratulations on that collaboration. That's
Thanks.
huge and really exciting.
Super exciting. And actually the company will be at Adobe Max this year. So if any of the attendees are there, please stop by. It'd be great to meet you.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I want to go back to something that you had mentioned, Luca, because you talked a bit about personalized experiences. And I'd love to know from both of you, how do you walk that line of delivering efficient, effective, personalized experiences, but not losing the personal expression or that kind of personal touch or human touch, if you will?
Yeah. I think what's very interesting is actually AI is going to do the exact opposite of what a lot of people think, that they're like, oh, I'm going to be talking to a machine, it's going to be impersonalized. But I actually think that AI is going to create much more personal experiences than before. Like specifically, I think let's think about our specific use case, which is hospitality. How many people, like, what are the chances that your front desk is really going to remember a customer unless they go and look up a database and have to read about it, right? But it takes time to do that, right? And so where a machine would automatically know and really remember everything instantly, and with the evolving of AI, soon it's going to even be able to have predictive behaviors and understanding like what people are going to want to do in the future, which is going to make things even more personal, right? I don't think it's going to substitute completely humans for a very long time. We also discussed this. I think there's a little bit of over fear over this. I think in the relatively short and medium term, is just going to enhance what people are already doing. In our case, like management companies that are properly utilizing our system are just increasing efficiency by, let's say, 3, 4, 5x specifically in the guest communications. And that allows them to then focus on things that they can deliver more value for their guests and actually make them more scalable or really make more profits, and so reinvest in what they're doing. So I think in the short term is only going to bring more value for everybody and create a better experience from the businesses that are using this and the consumer side as well.
Yeah, and I think for us, we're focused on the creator's experience being a meaningful experience for them on our platform. And it's clear, I mean, AI is already enhancing the content creation experience quite a bit. And as Luca said, it's moving along. People are kind of seeing it as it's just basically going to replace everything right away. That isn't going to happen, but it is going to continue its capabilities will get better and better. It's going to get better and better. And I think it's really this idea of enhancing someone's experience as opposed to replacing it. I think that there's a little bit of assumption that once the AI is capable of full replacement, that's what people will want. And it doesn't matter whether you're delivering to our customers, content creators, or Luca's customers, guests, or the management. The goal is to enhance their experience, to not bog them down with any kind of complicated requirements for UI or understanding, but to be there to enhance their experience when they need it, but not replace it. And I think that I think it's very easy to create a product that's designed to use AI to simply replace human experience, but I don't really think that that's a product that will have a long-term use case.
Great. And then, Luca, I actually want to go back for a minute to what you mentioned about AGI. And I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but can you just explain a little bit what you mean by AGI?
Yeah, it's kind of like an automatic agent, almost like think as a so right now, like the interaction that you mainly have with ChatGPT, and that's what or this general like chat type of interface, and that's the main interaction that users have, right? Like utilizing a system like Bar or ChatGPT is more of like you ask the questions and then and you get an answer back, right? And that's like a one action type of thing. But AGI is the ability to take multiple actions with one question, right? And I don't know if anybody has had experience to utilize a system like Auto GPT. It's a bit more geeky to use, like you need to know a little bit of coding. But really that's the idea of the agent, but kind of like the AI self-prompting itself to take multiple actions at the same time and to do multiple things. So it becomes very similar, like having actual humans doing actions for you, right? Because if you were talking to, let's say, an employee that is doing a specific task and you say, hey, can you do this? If something else comes up within that task, they wouldn't just come back to you with just one answer. They would try to accomplish the task all the way till the end. And that's, I guess, kind of like a simplified version to explain what an AGI can do. And that's what we're working on. And that's why we said it's important to have a proprietary and have an infrastructure that supports this, really the ability to have a back and forth conversation with a guest, but also if a guest asks a question, let's say to modify a reservation means that there's multiple things that have to change in the background, right? And they have the ability to do all of those all the way to the end.
We kind of have an analog of that. It's not exactly the same thing, but when we're thinking about integrating our generative AI to game assets, you're actually not creating a single asset, but a whole suite of assets that work in a variety of places. And so it's kind of the nature that we have to present to our user when they do try and generate something. We can't present all of the iterations that it's possible to see in the game because different interactions will lead to different iterations. And so we both are faced with the challenge of how to present the entire set with just one kind of indicator so they can decide what they want. But it's kind of similar. We have to work in the back end to build the infrastructure to be able to take an individual prompt or an individual input and turn it into a wide variety of game assets that will work under a wide variety of player circumstances.
And I can imagine that one of the huge benefits of AI is that it's infinitely scalable. So you're no longer restricted by the work that, one designer can do or one person can do or one social media manager or one agent. You now, like you said, Luca, have an entire kind of army working on your behalf to enable the person that's using this to do much bigger, better things with their time.
Yeah, scalability is nearly infinite, which is very exciting. And I think a lot of people are underestimating really where we're at with AI. And again, like I go back to the ChatGPT example, like it's very limiting. Like GPT-4 is extremely powerful today, extremely powerful, but the interface and the interaction of just ChatGPT only shows you like a small percentage of its capability. And actually the ability to answer generic questions is a lot more complicated to narrow down its power to a specific use case or a specific industry or a specific infrastructure. So the stuff that we're seeing that it's able to do today, it's already game changing. Even if the industry will stop evolving and just like companies will start developing better and better tools and better infrastructures around GPT-4 today, you can already change industries. And if you add to the fact that actually AI doubles in power approximately every 3.5 months, like we're yet to see anything of what's about to happen.
Yeah, I mean, oh, go ahead, Kate.
Nope, go right ahead, Dan.
I was just going to say that the infinite scalability is so exciting, but we're interested in where the infinite becomes. I mean, I think it's a very different use case than what Luca is talking about. But for generative stuff, we're really interested in the question of where infinity in infinite ability to create anything actually becomes a kind of a burden to creativity. So it's a long known fact that in creative fields, constraints are actually sometimes very, very effective. So I mean, I was talking before about using AI to generate various game animations. We're really interested in kind of where do we integrate an existing library and constraints inside that, so that that we find that our user has the best experience. We don't necessarily want to give them infinite options of what they can do. Some of them are just not appropriate for games and they won't end up working. And because they can't see everything that they need to do, they aren't necessarily going to be able to be aware of and respond to the constraints. So we're trying to think about where are the right constraints, guardrails to put in place, and where can we take advantage of this just unbelievable infinite scalability.
And what are the best ways for, or what have you found are some of the best ways for discovering where those lines are or where those guardrails should be placed? Is it primarily kind of user feedback, or are you doing
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely it's user feedback, but one of the places where AI is so incredibly powerful for us is in terms of the analysis of user behavior. Of course, we're getting information out of our players at a 60 hertz cycle, 60 times a second. We know what our players are up to. It generates a vast amount of data, something that traditionally you never would be able to sift through and see some of the trends. So that is a place that we're really excited about, utilizing existing AI tools, building our own tools, training our own models in order to really be able to better understand the user feedback. And then, of course, we're integrating kind of traditional user feedback as well, interviews and everything that you would imagine. But I think on the business intelligence side for us, AI is just super exciting for something where you've actually got your users interacting pretty over a constant stream of 2, 3, 4 minutes. It's a tremendous amount of data, and it offers a tremendous amount of potential to kind of shrink the cycles down so that we can be iterating and responding to our users much more quickly.
And so from the beginning of your product design or product development, have you always figured that you would leverage AI in some way, or had you started developing product before kind of AI really hit the mainstream?
So that's an interesting question. I mean, for sure, it was imagined from the beginning in specific places. I think that's what's really changed for us as the industry has grown and evolved at this incredible pace, is how many different opportunities we've seen. So we've had areas where we might not have originally envisioned including AI. So in terms of from the customization of individual users' games, from search results and recommended games, all of that was envisioned from the beginning. But I think as time has moved on and we've seen some of what AI is capable of and the power that we've expanded the places that we intend to utilize it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how, Luca?
Yeah, no, I think for us, we envisioned that AI was eventually going to come. We didn't know really when. we understood that having a unified system and unified data source, it was going to be extremely important in the future. We just didn't know how, right? Like very much similar to that. I think we didn't really imagine exactly how we're going to go about it, but we understood that that was going to be something that it was going to come at a massive advantage. And we were extremely right with it, way more right than we even thought we were at the time, right? Especially because I don't think we knew that it was going to come that quickly, right? We thought it was going to be something that come in the next 2, 3, maybe 5 years. And we said, like, we just want to be ready. We just want to have the infrastructure. We just want to have the best system. And we worked for a long time with this like specific API integrations and creating the system, but it arrived a lot quicker than we thought. And it's a lot more capable than we even were thinking. And so that's what really is amazing. But I think you have to, like, it's going to be rare for a company starting now or starting this year to already have that infrastructure, because it took us 3 years to build the infrastructure where it is at today. And so, and I don't think there's many companies out there that have started building that before, unless they have insane amount of resources and they started recently, but you have to have large amount of resources.
And there's lots of competition for talent.
Yes.
A ton of competition for talent.
Yes.
Great. So I have a question from Cody, who is one of our attendees, and this is for you, Dan. It's a little bit, it's about Web3 and blockchain, and whether or not you've looked into Web3 blockchain gaming and to see if Overplay can deliver to that upcoming gaming space, or do you have plans in kind of the Web3 and blockchain gaming space?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting question. And I think, I mean, because we're a content creator platform, there absolutely is a huge amount of opportunity in the Web3 space and also in Web3 gaming. I think we did make a decision from the beginning that we weren't going to lead with that. We were really going to lead with the empowering of content creators, the democratization of making a game, and that we think of that not once, but we think that the right approach with that is to integrate it after we're building the games that everyone wants to play, rather than starting specifically with a specific technology. I mean, I think you could actually make this argument about AI as well, that if you say, I'm going to solve my problem by using this technology, you're actually limiting yourself a little bit. If you I mean, it depends on what the problem is, obviously, if it's specifically for that technology. But in our case, what we're doing is we're allowing people to make content. And I don't think that is AI. I don't think that's technology dependent, whether it's AI or Web3. So yeah, so are there opportunities? Absolutely. Will we take advantage of those opportunities? Absolutely. But it's not kind of the driver for Overplay. For Overplay, the driver is empowering people to make video games out of video.
Makes a lot of sense. And Luca, any plans for you guys right now with Web3 and blockchain?
Well, not really. I mean, it's not a technology that I mean, I think there's a lot of potentials. I don't think it directly applies to what we're doing.
Makes
But yeah.
a lot of sense. And then one additional question for you guys. Are there any going back to AI, are there any particular use cases that you have seen that get you really excited or that you find particularly interesting in any industry, any type of use case, just kind of on a personal level? Luca, you want to start?
Sure. Well, for me, really is the AGI side of things. I've seen its capability, and I mean, if people haven't had the chance to really play with some of those, they already exist early. They're very early, but things like Outer GPT, which utilizes GPT-4, API, and we're obviously playing and creating our own for our own system. It's already kind of like impressive what they can do and the multiple tasks that they can do, and just get and really self-prompting themselves until they accomplish that task. So I think very soon we're going to be able to have a full-on assistant helping us doing multiple things. And I think just the output of human beings is going to increase dramatically very, very soon in almost every single field. So that to me is extremely exciting. Alongside many other things, honestly, the whole field it's very exciting in general.
Yeah, I think for me, it's really around some of the animation and kind of video filter capabilities that generative AI is doing. I mean, you know, as I mentioned before, I spent a long time working at Sesame Street, and for a long time, I was basically translating puppeteers' versions of Muppets into animated, you know, dialogue and animations inside of games. And I always, you know, I had this awareness that a puppet has inputs in a way, and it's being manipulated by someone. Why are we like hand drawing these animations of these puppets? And I think some of the stuff that's happening around that kind of thinking, not specifically with the Sesame Street puppets, but you know, the animation companies, and of course, like Runway ML, like all of the stuff that they're doing is super exciting to me. I just love the idea of being able to enhance something that you just, you know, take with your phone and turn it into a space adventure or undersea adventure, whatever it is. That stuff is super appealing to me.
Oh yeah, I'm going to be at Adobe Max this year as well, Dan, and I am super stoked to see what you guys are working on and to just play around a lot with it. And also, I know AI is a really hot topic this year at the show, so I can't wait to see all of the really cool tools that are there, and just to see how everybody, all the creators are interacting with those tools and how they're leveraging them,
Yep.
because I think we expect that people will utilize our technology in one way, and then once you get it out there in the real world, you start to see people utilizing it for all of these different things that you may not have even knew was possible. So yeah, there's a lot
Yep.
of really
Super
cool things
exciting.
happening. And then, Luke, I have another question for you from Farhad in regard to NIA and the NIA implementation. He's asking, how soon will hosts be able to enable full autonomous mode, and what new features or functions can you expect from that?
Okay, great question. It's actually in beta, so it should be available to everybody. If you're using our system and you know how it works, feel free to reach out, and we're happy to demo you on that. Full autonomous mode, we actually are in the middle of releasing, so I'm going to give you some insider information, but we're in the middle of releasing a major update for NIA that is going to further improve, well, number one, precision on the answer, and ability to really get through the Q&A. So the FAQ section, it's already live. We're improving the UI UX side of things, because I think a lot of people don't know exactly how to access it. But with the new update, it's going to be very easily accessible, and you can already add, I believe, 50 question and answers. So like it's already pretty capable, and with this last new release, its capability has increased quite a bit. And full autonomous mode is, although it's in beta, so obviously it's still in the I will say, like, still watch it when you put it in full autonomous mode. And for people that don't know what it means that the AI will automatically answer for you without you having to review the answer. Right now, the most used mode is pre-filled answer. So you go on it, and a pre-filled answer is already there. And some of the capability that are coming, which actually we're about to release a press release, is also ability to take quite a bit of actions. Already is able to escalate things on the full autonomous mode. You can put emails for different escalations. When you have something that you wanted to be escalate to a human being for that specific questions, or when the AI does not know how to answer a question, will automatically escalate. And then there's just a lot of new features, but that's going to be a lot of in our press release, and there's going to be a newsletter, I think, coming out this week with a lot of the new capabilities.
And Luca, where else can people go to find out more information about Jurny, about all of the exciting new things that you have coming out, and more about the fundraise as well?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're on WeFounder, so we're posting a lot of the updates there. So, and then obviously, if you reach out to us through our website, jurny.com, we have a really good sales team that has a lot of knowledge on our system and can show the system. That also, Katie, I saw that somebody asked a question on the chat, and it says why we reduced the maximum raise from 5 million to 2.2 million on WeFounder. So just to specify, that's just reducing on how much we can raise from the crowd. And the reason is just because we got quite a bit of interest from VCs that may want to take the rest of the round. So we just reduced a little bit the amount of money that retail can invest. But still should be a plenty. I think it's about another 1.5 million, or a little bit less than that, actually.
Great. And Dan, where should people go to find out more about the exciting things that you guys are working on at Overplay?
Sure. Well, you can always start at overplay.com. There are links to download the product there, and also a link to the WeFunder page. Yeah. So I think that for more information about the company, the WeFunder page is definitely the place to go. Information about the product, check out the website. And, you know, as Luca said, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Both my co-founder and I, Caroline, would be happy to talk to anybody who has questions or are interested. And I would also I would add that we're getting close to the end of our current raise on WeFunder, so that's just the
Get in while you can.
Get in while you can. That's right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much for your time today and for this great conversation. Luca, do you have any parting thoughts that you haven't had a chance to express?
No, I'm just very excited. Also, this webinar and the community. You know, we've been live for less than a month. We saw a lot of action. And a lot of people are. It's just amazing the concept of a community round. We didn't consider it before, and seeing how many people have been involved with the product. Just awesome. And yeah, we'll open it. I think not a lot of people know, but we're soon probably gonna. We got quite a bit of demand both from the VC side and the retail side, so that's one of the reasons why we reduced the round. And we're probably gonna be closing the round around sometimes in October, but for sure this year. So although we open it for very little, it's been amazing.
Great. And Dan, any parting thoughts from you that we didn't get a chance to touch on?
No, I mean, I would really echo Luca. WeFunder's been great. I mean, I think one of the most exciting aspects of it that I didn't really think about is having so many people on board, so many people who are invested and interested, and us. It's really been great. We're super excited. We decided to do it, and the results have been great. So we're super pleased.
Great. Well,
Thank you so
again.
much, Katie.
Yeah, thank you both for your time, and thanks to everybody who joined us today and participated in the conversation. Appreciate your questions, and if there's anything that we didn't get a chance to respond to, we'll make sure to follow up after this. You can follow up with us as well. All right, thanks everyone.
Thanks everyone.
Day.